Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corman Productions, here to strike first, strike hard, and show no mercy to Cobra Kai Season 4, Episode 3, Learn Then Fly. The episode's description reads as follows. Kenny tries to become a student of Cobra Kai with some encouragement from Robbie, while Johnny urges Sam to take a leap of faith in herself. The episode was directed by Marielle Woods. This is her first work on this series, the first of 4 episodes that she has directed thus far. The episode was written by committee. The only one not typically credited is Michael Jonathan Smith. Before going any further, I will tell you a couple of things. 1, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then watch my video. Secondly, if you like this podcast and want to support the channel, please like, share, and comment, and then subscribe to my channel. Well, this is another fun one, folks. The continuing and beginning of mixing up the relationships in this show that is one of the reasons for the season being so much fun. Mainly Johnny and Sam, and Miguel and Daniel. And then the return of the real Terry Silver. We begin this episode with the Okinawan sparring deck, ready to use. A montage of training. Daniel and Johnny actually getting along and participating in each other's training with the kids. It's the one episode where they spend the majority of it actually getting along, even dapping each other at the end of the montage. We cut to Johnny hanging out at the LaRusso home with Carmen and Amanda chilling on the couch together laughing, while Daniel and Johnny are in the kitchen cooking. Daniel asks about that situation, specifically Johnny and Carmen, and Johnny says that she wants to take things slow. Daniel cracks a joke about not thinking that was a speed that Johnny could go. In response, Johnny flicks a beer top at him, and Daniel manages to catch it. Johnny is impressed and compliments him on the catch. Daniel goes to get something from the garage, and Anthony happens into the kitchen. Johnny doesn't even recognize him. Don't blame him, he doesn't look anywhere near what he used to look like. Johnny, under his breath, still thinks Anthony is a piece of crap. And I couldn't agree more, dude. Dinner is being served. Carmen makes the comment that she doesn't think she'll ever tire of seeing Daniel and Johnny together. Couldn't agree more, dude. And, of course, I'm using dude in the gender-neutral way. As it turns out, Miguel is also present for dinner with Sam. Daniel makes a joke about Sam taking over the dealership because when she was a kid, she used to walk around like she owned the place. As Amanda points out, she was practically raised and born in that dealership, and probably conceived, as sad as that is. The subject of college comes up, and Miguel is in trying to impress Mr. LaRusso mode, which ends with him pouring wine all over Daniel, which he takes in stride, but still, Miguel is mad at himself for the klutzy move. Happens to the best of us, dude. We cut to Daniel and Johnny revealing that they're going to be switching students for the day tomorrow. Miyagi-Do with Johnny and Eagle Fang with Daniel. We cut to Terry being served something that I suppose is food, but it beats the heck out of me what it actually is. Terry is now having flashbacks to Vietnam. Presumably this is something that was not happening for a while before Kreese came to visit him. We see past Terry tell Kreese that anything he needs, he would be there, his whole life. Terry decides he needs to go for a ride to clear his head. At the Cobra Kai dojo, Kenny walks in to the middle of class and is intercepted by Kreese, asking in his usual intimidating way, "Can I help you?" Kenny says that he's looking for Robbie, and Kreese interrupts the class to tell Robbie that he has a visitor. Robbie, of course, doesn't recognize him. Kenny introduces himself and reveals that he's Sean's brother. Robbie didn't know that Sean had a brother, and he asks if Sean is out. But nope, that's why he's here. He's getting hassled, and he's interrupted by Kreese telling him that he's interrupting his class. Robbie speaks up for him, telling him that Sean is the toughest guy he knew in juvie. Kreese smiles and says, "In the real world, you gotta fight your own battles. Cobra Kai can teach you how, but you have to prove that you're worthy." Kenny asks a natural question. How? The answer is to get on the mat and show what he's got. Eagle Fang is warming up. Miguel is being all insecure, worrying that Mr. LaRusso is going to think he isn't good enough for Sam, mostly because of the college conversation. Hawk speaks up, thinking that's ridiculous, and as Mitch is saying that training with Mr. LaRusso is going to be like a vacation, he comes out with a challenge. Catch a koi in the pond, and then you can lead class for the week and pick out the Gatorade that Mr. LaRusso buys. Mitch says he hopes everybody likes Glacial Freeze. Yeah, sure, Mitch. Like you're gonna win anything. The catch is, they have to catch a fish with their bare hands. No fishing poles involved. Miguel gives it the old college try. Get it, what I did there? The old college try. And ends up swimming with the fishes. Literally. Thank you, I will be here all day. Or at least for the next 3 to 4 to 5 to 10 minutes. Meanwhile, Miyagi-Do, being led up the stairs to God only knows where, by Johnny, Dimitri gives the worst possible recounting of a first season episode, saying he drowned a kid in the pool to teach him how to kick. Yeah, Dimitri, as I recall, Miguel lived through that, so he didn't quite drown. But whatever, Dimitri. As it turns out, they are going to the top of the roof, which Johnny wants them to break away from the wait-and-see style karate that they are accustomed to by jumping off a building onto another building. What if they fall? Well, that's what the mattresses are at the bottom. Alright, so this is kind of nutty even for Johnny. If they mistime that jump, they're going to break their necks and die on the side of the building. And if they fall and miss the mattress, they're probably going to die. Yes, Johnny is usually pretty reckless, but not this reckless. Back to Cobra Kai, Kenny is on the mat to face Kyler, who's being his usual arrogant, prickish self, without much cause to be. Kenny ends up backing out of the fight, scared off the mat when Kyler comes at him. He gets another chance, but he screws that one up too. Kreese tells him to leave. He doesn't got what it takes. But, on his way out, Kenny forgets his book bag. Back at Miyagi-Do, Ego Fang is going to practice the koi pond challenge somewhere else, probably at like a Chinese restaurant where they have those little koi ponds. I'm not sure why they're leaving and not just continuing to practice here, but whatever. The timing on the cross-cutting between Johnny and Daniel seems a little bit wonky in this episode. I don't quite believe that the events happen within the same span of time, but that's what we're supposed to believe. Miguel gets a phone call from his mom. Her car broke down. Daniel, who's come out, offers to help, and despite Miguel's reluctance, eventually gives in. After all, Daniel does that sort of thing for a living. Cut to Johnny trying to convince Sam to jump, asking if she does everything Mommy and Daddy say to do. If they asked her to jump off a bridge, would she? And Sam does my job for me by pointing out that he's asking her to jump off a building. I mean, sure, it's onto another building, but you know, nuance and all. They take turns tearing the other down. Sam finally questioning the judgment of an alcoholic man who doesn't have his own life together. Johnny says that he's doing what he loves, helping kids find their own way. Johnny says, if you want to sit in the back seat of your life for the rest of your life, go ahead. No sweat off his back. And this is a pretty good scene between these two, I thought. Cobra Kai. Terry walks in after class, pissed that he was doing just fine before Kreese walked back into his life. But Kreese doesn't buy it. He was just burying the memories and forgetting who he actually was. Terry ends up on the mat while Kreese taunts him, and Terry shows off some moves without making any actual contact, and then says he shouldn't have come back. And Kreese says, but you did. Not all the memories we had were bad, but the ones that we got through together. They can still finish what they started. The choice is his. Terry glares at him and walks out. Another fun, decent scene between these two. Thomas Ian Griffith hadn't acted in 15 years before coming back for this series. I probably haven't mentioned that little factoid before. But throughout Season 4 and Season 5, he's pretty fun to have around as Terry Silver. We're at Kenny's house. Robbie shows up at the door with his backpack. How did he know where he lived? Well, the address was on the backpack. Was on the bag. Robbie asks about Sean. and laughs at the stunt that Sean pulled to get more time. He tells Kenny he can't be his trainer until he sees a stunt pulled on him, most likely by Buttface Anthony, and he changes his mind a bit. He says he can show him a few moves. But what I'm assuming is in his backyard, Kenny keeps flinching and backing away, just like he did at the dojo. Robbie says, "Hey look, I'm not going to make contact, but you need to stay in the fight." They try again, and it doesn't go any better than the previous couple of times. Robbie ends up questioning whether he really is Sean's brother. And Kenny says, "Sean can fight for himself, but all I can do is run." And Robbie says, "Why don't we use that? Instead of running away from your opponent, run at them." And here we have another great scene. This arc with Robbie in a more mentor role is more suited to Tanner Buchanan's abilities, acting-wise, than last season, in which I wasn't thrilled with most of his performances, or the arc that he was asked to perform. Daniel and Miguel at the dealership, in which Daniel reveals that he didn't even go to college. He points out his roundabout way of finding his destiny, and expresses his confidence that Miguel, too, will find his way. Two different mentors bring something to the table. Both, in my view, are good for Miguel and Sam. Cut to Johnny, who's given up. He tells them that it's time to go. They all fail. But Sam gets a text from her father asking how is training going. And something about that text message, "Don't do anything I wouldn't do," clicks something in Sam's mind. As the rest are leaving, Sam looks towards the other building, drops her bag, and much to everyone's shock, takes a run towards the building in slow motion. I'm pretty sure she didn't actually run in slow motion. I'm pretty sure that's just added for effect. But you know, it'd be pretty cool if we could somehow harness the ability to move in dramatic ways in slow motion in real life. That would be really pretty awesome. She takes the leap and makes it across, while Johnny smiles watching. "Nice move, Lil Russo," Johnny shouts, and the rest of her dojo is amazed. Sam smiles and lets off a little giggle. Yeah, okay, this is not realistic. It's not realistic in the slightest, but it was still fun to watch nonetheless. Cut to Terry, who's been ignoring texts from what I assume is his girlfriend. I'm pretty sure they are not married. We have flashbacks to Terry and Kreese getting tattoos together, and the origins of the All Valley tournament. Terry tells him that he can't help anymore because his father wants him to go run his company. He'll help with money. He won't physically be present. This does not make Kreese, young Kreese, happy. In the present day, Terry ties his hair into a ponytail and then becomes the Terry Silver. All while we hear the theme from Karate Kid 3. Johnny, meanwhile, is coming home at night. He hears his own inspiring words echoing in his head. He decides to make his move. He goes to Carmen's door, knocks on it, and says he doesn't want to put this off anymore. He's tired of waiting. But there's just one little problem. There's a little get-together going on with, I guess, Miguel's grandmother's friends? Not really sure, to be honest with you. Johnny takes a look at them and says, screw it. They can listen to this too, and makes an impassioned plea to give them a chance. And Carmen, after a little bit, relents happily. "Jerry Maguire, you can eat your heart out." Kenny returns to Cobra Kai. Robbie implores Kreese to give him another chance, and he does so. He's going to go up against Kyler again. The first round doesn't go any better than the first time. Everyone's laughing. Robbie is looking let down, disappointed, and kind of pained on Kenny's behalf. Kreese is just looking annoyed to have his time wasted. But finally, Kenny gets angry enough to run at Kyler and punch him right in the face. I can't even tell you how satisfying watching Kyler get punched in the face is. Honestly, if I could watch a loop of Kyler getting his ass beat, I would love the hell out of that. Kyler wasn't quite ready, and Kyler objects to that. Kreese says he's right. Kenny didn't line up, so the point wouldn't count. I only wish he had punched Kyler harder. Maybe make him bleed a little bit. Kenny apologizes, and Kreese says that was his one shot. Well, really, it was his second shot. Third, fourth, fifth. But I'm not going to argue with you, Kreese. Kenny, defeated, starts to walk away. But Kreese says, "Where are you going? Take your spot." Kenny smiles, triumphant. You know, this most reminds me of that scene in the first season with Hawk, when he finally gets the Mohawk and becomes Hawk and rejoins Cobra Kai when it was under Johnny, of course. And that was a badass moment. That was a really fun moment, and this kind of resembles it. It's not quite as good, but it's still fun and satisfying, even if we're really not supposed to be rooting for Cobra Kai. But we've seen enough of Kenny's situation that we root for him. Back at Miyagi-Do, Eagle Fang is ineptly trying to get the koi fish until Miguel comes up with an idea. He tells everyone to get in a circle around the fish, and eventually Miguel manages to capture a fish, and he gets to lead class for a week, and he gets to pick out the Gatorade. Sorry, Mitch. Not like we didn't see that one coming, though. Miyagi-Do arrives back at the dojo. Sam asks lightheartedly to Johnny, "So what are we going to do today? Something life-threatening?" Johnny says, "Oh yeah, but you're ready for it now. Remember, you don't ever back down from your enemy. And you gotta grow a pair." He then realizes, yeah, Sam's a girl and doesn't have a pair. Johnny tries to fix it, but Sam simply tells him they understand and calls Johnny Sensei, the ultimate sign that she's developed some respect for Johnny. Meanwhile, Johnny ends up seeing Miguel and Daniel and gets jealous. Sigh. Well, I suppose we have to have some conflict. Can't all be sunshine and rainbows, but it leads to mostly good effect in the next episode. Johnny's issues comes down to more than just simply jealousy of Miguel, though that's certainly an element of it. But we get to explore that in the next episode, so we'll talk more about it there. This is a great episode, mostly for the character work. Yes, the jumping off the building scenes are unrealistic, insane even for Johnny. But whatever, the show has never been exactly the height of realism. That's all I got for you for this episode and this video. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join my Core Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee, which is a new way to support content creators such as myself. And of course, you can like, share, and comment, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is Dave from Core Productions, signing off.